Welcome to Zero to Hero on the network service of Radio Nigeria, Africa's largest radio station. On Zero to Hero, we share the stories of entrepreneurs with the hope to fan the flame of entrepreneurship in our youths. My name is Juanita Ized. Welcome. Our guest on this edition of Zero to Hero is an entrepreneur, a role model, Miss Irene David-Arinze. What can we learn from her? She will take us through how she was able to navigate the tides of life to where she is. A true Zero to Hero? Don't touch that dial. Stay with us and find out. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation to be our guest on Zero to Hero. Zero to Hero is a Radio Nigeria network program that is set at empowering the Nigerian youth. That person out there who needs encouragement, who's probably come to the dead end, not knowing what to do. Now you're here. You are an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a scholar. Tell us, how did you navigate the tides of life?
Okay, thank you, Juanita, for having me on your program from Zero to Hero. My name is Irene David-Arinze. I prefer being called Lady Irene, and I am privileged to serve as the Executive Director at Leader Network, Leader spelled LIDA, which is a media development platform where we really focus on telling impact-driven stories about social justice, climate change, energy transition, and we also support in the creation of green jobs for women in rural communities, which really also helps them not, cut down trees, the felling of trees to cook, instead leveraging cleaner solutions. So that's about broader base of what we do at Leader Network. And for me, being a Nigerian, maybe I'll just go a step backwards for the purpose of our listeners. I graduated from the university in 2016, and I had always had a flair for television and radio, and so for that reason, even though I had a background in engineering, interestingly, and in fact I graduated as the best female and top 1% in my class, but that thing they say about passion, I did my NYSC in Ibadan, I encountered children, I worked in a radio station, in the engineering department. However, I still found myself in the newsroom, and that was as a result of, all of the good work I was doing there, finding children on the street, reassigning them back to their parents. I didn't even know it was journalism I was doing at the time, but it happened to be that was what I was doing.
You read journalism?
No, I didn't read journalism. I actually studied information and communications engineering in school. But then I've been a self-trained and self-taught journalist up until this moment. And it's beautiful to see how it has, moved me up until this point. I got to Lagos. I got a job at Plus TV, where I was the business correspondent there. Also hosted my program, came back to Abuja, and, started my business. And it's been a very interesting journey because since I was new in the city, one thing I said to myself was, I would give you as an employer, whoever I get to work with, that's one thing which education cannot buy, which is character. Those characteristics, they would say, oh, Gen Z, they don't have the right attitude, they just behave anyhow. They think that, life is that easy. And so I said to myself, I must be a different kind of person. I'm not a Gen Z, I'm way older than Gen Zs, and so I said to myself, whatever organization I find myself, whatever space I find myself, I would always ensure that is one thing that would set me apart. And that's what I basically just always did. And I found that people love to work with me. And it has really just translated to a lot of beautiful things. I find myself also volunteering. One thing that I find with a lot of young people these days, once they say they don't have jobs, but they also don't want to volunteer. They don't want to do anything for free. Because again, they feel like, oh, you want to take my services for free. Maybe what I'm volunteering for you, you're making money out of it. And then me, I'm just going to be there without any money. But I've come to realize that you may even do something voluntarily for one person, and during that course of volunteering, you find some other people that will be interested to pay for what it is you were volunteering for. That is being found in your place of assignment. And that has really been my story. When I saw you, I had mentioned to you how I had been selected for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Now, this is a program put together by the United States government where they literally invite about 700 African youths that are doing phenomenal work across African countries. Nigeria is usually the highest number of people, about 50 if not more, because of our population again, where they send you to the US for about 6 weeks, and then you are put through rigorous trainings, both in civic engagement, there's a track for entrepreneurship, there's also a track for public management. And you necessarily don't need to be working in like a World Bank or all of these big four before you get access to these opportunities. But are you a young person willing to really make meaningful impact in your community, no matter how little it is, and that is what they're looking out for. And they are sure that you also come back to your country. It's not that you now travel there, they will not see you again, you just look for a way to run away. So I'd say that has been my zero to hero journey so far, and it's been really amazing because beyond just the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I've also had opportunities to travel to different countries for different engagements, fully funded by these organizers, again because of the quality of work that I'm doing, not because I have a pretty face or in the media space. But what is that one thing that really sets you apart? And it's very important, whatever it is you're doing, you must find that one thing that sets you apart. If they call your name Irene, that girl, she is excellent, and that's one thing that I don't joke with. My mentor Oprah Winfrey will say that let excellence be your brand. What do you want to be known for? What should your identity be? It's in your hands. Whatever you want to be tomorrow, irrespective, it's really in your hands. I understand that the government has a part to play, but I always say something to all of the Nigerians who care to listen, right? While the government has so much to do and a lot of responsibilities, there's just that level of impact they can make. Every citizen also has a responsibility to play. And are you playing your role as a citizen, as a responsible citizen of your country, or are you making things worse for your country? If you are throwing litters on the floor, then you are making things worse for your country. If you are breaking the traffic rules, then you are making things worse for your country. Are you part of the people who would sensitize other people on better ways to be better citizens, on better ways to keep your communities tidy, on better ways to ensure that people without education, especially the children in elementary schools, can get better access to education? Are you adding to the betterment of your country or worse? I understand that the government also has a part to play, but I'll tell you something interesting. The fact that I've had the opportunity to work with certain government officials, and I'm not a draconian journalist who, scriptures will say the violent take it by force, but I try to also see how I can work in tandem with government officials, explain certain things to them, and better ways in which you can collaborate to make the society better. The police force, I get to work with them sometimes, because again, we are human beings. But one thing I find sometimes is we try to say, oh, you should know what you're doing already. Are you not the government? We talk to them rudely. But trust me, you're not talking to a machine where you say, oh, this computer, I click on you and then you do the exact thing I want you to do. They are human beings. There's a way to approach people. There's a way to approach situations. There's a way to approach cases. Even if you do have a just case, how are you approaching these things? And that's what will really determine if you get what you want or you don't. My husband will say to you, at the end of the day, it's the end result that should determine your action towards achieving it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I let you speak. It was quite impressive. But if I don't break in, one would think you are just preaching. Wonderful. Now, Why did you decide to become a volunteer?
That's a tough question because I've always been one who I seek out problems to solve. Okay, I will give you an example. Beyond what I did during NYC, which was a lot of volunteering, I already had a bank job waiting for me. But just close to where I lived, Makoko, my house was close to Makoko. I got to know about children who were not even in school. And then there was a friend of mine who had just set up a school, Kant Foundation, there. And so I said to him, do you mind me volunteering with you as a teacher there? I've always been a math wizard, pretty much. So I've always loved mathematics, also good in English. And so I became the first math and English teacher while I put in applications in media houses that I wanted to work with. And that was really one very intense volunteering experience that I had. Again, seeing children, before I even left, I worked there for 1 month before I moved on to my new role. Seeing children who did not even know how to recite 1, 2, 3, learn ABC, A to Z, learn 1 to 100 within that period, it made me know that I wasn't paid for it, but I could change a child's life. I'm currently also doing some things with some other children, and having seen and supported children through, again, volunteering, just being a mentor to them is enough volunteering, but helping them, guiding them, because again, you have been where they are about to get to. You just helping and supporting them. Really, you, in your own little way, in your own little corner, you are making an impact. You are leaving a legacy. And that for me is very important. I may not be here tomorrow, but is there somebody that because of the actions that I took would live a better life and have a better opportunity in this life where they say is unfair? So yeah.
Okay, so while you were speaking to me, while you were talking, you said Oprah Winfrey is your mentor?
Yes.
Why? Why Oprah?
It's important that while you are living, you should not totally copy what somebody else has done, but if there are certain things about certain people that resonates with you as a human being, that resonates with your personality, that resonates with the kind of future that you seek. There's a picture of Oprah that I have in my head, and I actually have on my social media, where it was just her in like a sitting room, and then she had a lot of young girls, everybody in pajamas, and herself was also in pajamas. So it was like Mother
Teresa,
that kind of thing. And then all those young people.
Do you want to see yourself in that?
Yes, absolutely.
Really, that's the picture you want for yourself.
Yes, and I love that. Each time I even think about having a big house, is having a big house so that I have a lot of children that will live in the house. Not my biological children now, but just having children. I see somebody on the street, I know there's already space in my house for her to come and stay or for him to come and stay. I'm working hard not because I want to buy myself Gucci shoes or Fendi or Prada or Givenchy, but so that I know that, this child needs to go to school. If a funder does not say, he has money to fund, I can at least within, my little corner, just fund you to school. I have certain children like that. Instead of me fixing my nails or making the long expensive nails, I can just make something moderate, use the remaining money to pay for Dorcas's JAMB or WAEC, or even the transportation she would use, or Deji's. I have a couple children just like
that's
that.
That's what you're doing right now. Huh?
Yes, that's wow. Beyond leader
humanitarian services.
Yes, I love
so
it.
You are
it
a
makes me feel alive. It makes me feel alive.
Wow.
And it's people feel like you need to have billions of dollars or a lot of money to do that. If you are kind, you are kind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to. And the people you work with, there are times when they ask me for money and I show them my empty account and they say, God will bless you. God will. I just keep praying for me. At least the one that will take care of.
You just said something right now. You said if you are kind, you are kind. So
yes.
What do you say to people who are very, very rich? What will you say about people who are extremely rich but don't think charity is part of humanity?
That's a very peculiar case. If you are kind, you are kind. However, you also, for me, let me tell you one of the things that I do with all these wealthy people. I don't go to them begging them for money.
Mm-hmm.
Value begets value. That's my belief. And whether we like it or not, these people, while they have the monies and we think they can buy anything, there are certain things that money can't give them. Can you support them in those kinds of initiatives?
What kind of initiatives? Tell us.
Okay, so let me find an example. I was with one of these really high network people, and for me, I'm not begging for money. I know that you have a project ongoing I may not be able to give you the financing because, again, you already have the financing. But you just need a very genuine person that would not see you as another means to make money off or to rip you off. If I have those kinds of people in my network, which by God's grace I do have those kinds of people, I'm also that kind of person. I would either render my service, and funny enough, for free. A multi-billionaire, which we had done some work for a while ago, had actually handed some money over to me and my colleague, and I said, I'm sorry, but I think we're okay. And they had not even paid us at work. It was hilarious, you know. But I would say to you that because of that one action, every year I have his itinerary. I know where he or she would be at time T.
Let's have it in a nutshell, because if I want to say what I understand of what you're telling us is that gratifications shouldn't be your focus when you want to go out to do something. That's what you mean?
That's what I mean.
But okay, let's consider the times and the seasons. Because I don't want us to sound like we just want to enslave youths. Go and use them. We are not preaching that they should go out there and start. Remember that we have so many youths right now who have no one to turn to. They have to pay their own dues. They have to feed themselves, clothe themselves. It's okay that youth say it is good to bring out your talents. So what is your advice to that youth who is very independent, who needs help? He has to get out of that very tight situation where he's almost going hungry.
I like your question because it's so practical. And one thing I haven't said during my course of this conversation is being intentional and strategic. Even in the place of volunteering, you have value. You have something you can give. I'm a member of Yale Abuja, which is the Young African Leaders Initiative, and we had our summit last year, and I volunteered. I volunteered as the head of partnerships, so my major focus was to go and get partners that will give us things for the youth. We're able to get some, prominent organizations to support them. We got one of these bottling companies to give us 60 cartons of their products, both water and the drinks.
Wow.
Me, I went back home with 2 bottles. The one they gave me on day 1 and the one they gave me on day 2.
Just 2 bottles?
Just 2 bottles. We also were able to facilitate, led by me, one of those technology companies to support young people. They gave them 7 high-end laptops, the 360 flippable ones. At that time, my laptop was a desktop. I didn't go home with any brand new laptop, but I had done my job. But before our partners left, there are other things I do. I'm a moderator. That was where we met, right? So I sold myself. I've done my volunteer work, but there are other competencies that I have that I know I can transfer value to your organization. So while in volunteering, I was able to sell we finished the work, right? Oh, if you have moderating events, if you have these kinds of things, I'm able to support with it. I don't even mind you underpaying me from what I normally would collect, just so that you know that I am competent enough. Do you know that less than 2 months after that volunteering engagement, they contacted me? As of this moment I'm talking to you, I've done jobs for them twice.
Wow.
And through those jobs, of course, we have social media. What are you using your time on social media to do?
So what did you do on social media?
Of course, I promoted what I had done. It was, of course, a prominent organization, which is good branding for myself. Of course, when they post on their platform, I'll go and like, comment, not beggarly comments, but just something simple, top of mind, be in their faces. Let them remember, there's an Irene, there's always an Irene. There's a Juanita, just like that. And so I done that, and I just saw that those kinds of things just kept on coming, paid for. But some of these young people may just look at it as they're only volunteering, there's nothing else, there's no other service they can. What skill have you developed? Even if you sew, if you are an upcoming fashion designer, try to also maybe wear something you've made or you have it on your phone.
Promote yourself.
Yes. I am not promoting as a beggar, but as one who is, And people understand value, at least somebody that has a potential to do great things in the future, but you are just on the path. Because Dangote did not just become Dangote, he had a process. And we should also learn and believe in process and patience. Me, I'm a very patient person. You know, the US Embassy with that Mandela Washington Fellowship thing I told you about, they actually do the whole facilitation. You go for your interview, you know, after being selected, and you have at least nothing less than like a 90% chance of getting your visa.
Precisely what did they select you for?
When Obama was in office, he had this very novel idea to start to strengthen the leadership competencies of youth in Africa. So it's an exchange program. You travel to the US, they put you across different universities in different states in the US. And the whole idea is for you to now learn things that have worked in those different communities. There's also an opportunity for community service. Like I said, there are 3 tracks: public service if you are working in government, entrepreneurship if you run your business, then civic engagement if you do like NGO work and journalism and all of that, you know. So it just helps you become a better leader. So the whole idea is you come back to your country after 6 weeks and implement all the different things that you have learned. It's also a very strong network, you know, of people where you can pool resources. There are also fundings if you want to now come back and implement projects in your local community. That is also possible.
Okay, now, you know, while we were talking, it occurred to me that we might not just be talking to the Nigerian youth, because it becomes a character we develop. What we do often becomes a norm in our lives and society. If the Nigerian youth becomes a volunteer, like you say, to promote himself, and he in turn becomes somebody that is recognized, patronized, respected, will he divert the country's resources to himself?
Absolutely not, because again, we've gone through a process of training. It's like refining gold. You know the intensity of heat before you become extremely purified, you become gold of high value and high quality. And that's how I actually see it. I don't see myself as I am being swayed by money, to be very honest. And I don't want to start, you know, blowing my trumpet here on instances where people have literally shown me money, like, come, let's do this. And I said, no, you define what it is value means to you. Some people is to just be seeing credit alerts, their bank account is increasing. Me, I want to see human capital development. That is wealth for me.
And that's what makes you happy.
Oh my gosh. You can't begin to imagine how it gives me that sense of fulfillment.
And when you are appreciated, it keeps you going.
Yes. And happiness is also good medicine. That's why I barely fall ill.
Wow. Ooh la la. I see.
Yeah,
now.
so yeah, that's my zero to hero journey. And we're still on it.
Yeah.
We're still on it.
Yeah. Okay, why do you think the Nigerian youth might find this process you've just defined a bit challenging or difficult?
Sometimes location. I live in the Federal Capital Territory, and so there are always so many things happening around. So for somebody who is listening and perhaps is a more rural community, you can even start from there. Instead of waiting to volunteer, you can start an initiative and your other local people will join. One good thing social media does for us is even people that are not in your community, people that are miles away, can have access to see what you are doing. Fine, there are some people's social media handles that they don't allow you to tag them, but you can comment on their posts. When you do that project in your community, even if your camera is not good, even if it's just one person in your village that has camera, go and snap it. Start something on your platform. Tag the relevant people. And that's why you must always keep abreast with the news, because how will you know who to tag if you are not even abreast? Don't spend your time gossiping and insulting people.
Especially on social media.
Don't waste your time cyberbullying. It doesn't help anybody. It's not mentally healthy, it's not physically healthy. What does it add to you? The police can even come and meet you. Sometimes you now tell them you were just trying to catch cruise. Which kind of cruise? Spend that time doing something relevant, and you'll be found out. And these days, you see how people do good stuff. Before you know it, bam, they've blown on. Everybody now knows them on social media. That can just be a platform from just your little community.
Thank you very much, Miss Irene, for being on Zero to Hero.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you. Thank you indeed. This is where we would wrap up today's edition of program Zero to Hero. Special thanks to our guest on the program, the amiable Irene David-Arinze. Do join us same time next week for a fresh edition. Till we come your way again same time next week, remember, little drops of water make an ocean. Do not be scared to venture and make those giant strides. My name is Juanita Ized. Stay blessed.